Friday, November 9th, afternoon, 2001, New York City. She tells me about the stuffed animals, Lynette, after the meeting. When we reconnect, she tells me there are hundreds of them, stuffed animals in all sizes, all kinds. Mostly teddy bears, many of them with dust masks and goggles put on. They are in piles or tied attached all along the perimeter, attached or stacked next to the blue wood or chain link fencing which surrounds the whole place. The animals are either clean and new or rained on and dirt stained. Notes are attached or taped up or set atop. Notes and ribbons and flowers, many, many flowers. Wilted flowers, fresh flowers, bouquets still fresh in their plastic protection cones, bouquets brown and wilted back to weeds. Then there are the letters, longer than notes. Some are pages long, some in plastic bags, some already weather-worn and unreadable, some brand new and crisp, as if just written. And finally, the photos. So many photos. Ground Zero. Our meeting with the music lawyer is in his office, high in a building overlooking Ground Zero. I gaze down at the pit. Shortly after we arrive, still mingling, I try to focus. How do I deal with a music lawyer? Can this actually unfold? All this time pushing, all the money I spend, all the flights. Is this how it unfolds? Is this how we finally move forward? Question after doubtful question as I look into the pit, an odd concoction of excitement mixed with anxiety, mixed with horror, ricochets my brain. Behind me, my band begins to sit around a massive black table. Below me, yellow earth movers crawl. Yellow hard hats scatter. Tiny workers move mounds of dirt, tangles of steel. Cranes sway. Smoke rises from deep fires still smoldering. The grave, the remains where towers stood. Matthew is next to me. He looks down too, tells me sad things, tells me recollections of seeing the towers on fire from the Brooklyn Bridge as he bikes to work 2 months earlier. I remember this. I tell him something about how amazing it is that when that morning I get through to him on his cell, just then while he bikes across the bridge, and just that once. It happens directly after that downtown Minneapolis UK tour meeting between Shannon, Nicole, and I. Plans are to finish loose-end bookings between their respective efforts. Radio broadcasts interrupt first while I drive. Then television broadcasts of CNN video really interrupts. As we sit around a clean table, coffees in hand. In fact, That shuts our meeting down completely. Pre-cell, I worry for Lynette, still asleep at home. And now I worry for everyone. I need to call everyone in New York I know. So I drive home to our landline. I call Matthew first, and he picks up. Tells me what he sees from that bridge. Tells me about the fire being so immense and the smoke. In my memory, I ask him if he's okay, glad that he's answered his phone. In my memory, he assures me he and Eddie are fine, just stopped on the bridge, looking. And now, in my memory, he tells me it's as if they're gone. The towers seem gone. I don't believe him. He doesn't trust himself. He tells me he has to go. I hear it, the panic. We hang up. Then all the New York phones stop working for a week. In February of 2018, the evening of the 19th, Lynette and I argue over my memory. I read her what I've written and she challenges it. I get upset, dig around Wikipedia, find a minute-to-minute timeline of the events, but not enough to validate my memory. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't call Matthew at all. Or maybe I do and I'm correct on that score, but perhaps both towers have already fallen when my landline gets through to his cell. Matthew can verify, or maybe he can't. But it's what I remember. Doesn't matter. The towers fell either way. Here now, in the music lawyer's office far above ground zero, Matthew is telling me we should sit down. Join everyone at the table. So I do. We turn from the window. My thoughts still scatter. They jump forward to the photo shoot Matthew schedules for us this evening. I struggle to remain focused on the present, but stories of Jody Ake's photography studio fascinate me. Eddie and Matthew describe his process yesterday, the morning after we fly in, and before we shop Avenue of the Americas in search of two 110 to 220 European electric converters, which Matthew finds a week earlier after I tell him we need them for our UK tour. Real ones, not tiny hairdryer travel converters. Our amps and lights draw too much power. And we fly to London from JFK in just 2 days. And those two converters are way fucking heavy. Great. And now my mind relands on Jody's photos again. In a few hours, I experience the actual process, done on glass plates, authentically. He uses ether to develop the emotion, spreads that emulsion on by hand over the glass surface, just before placing it within a wooden black-bellowed land camera. Just like in an old-timey silent film, black cloth thrown over his back and all. He checks his subject's position and hold, and then lights an actual tray of flash powder. A fire erupts, whooshed brilliance immediately followed unexpectedly by a significantly loud bang. Back here again with the lawyer. We sit around a ridiculously monolithic black table high above Manhattan in a building just next to Ground Zero. The day is gray. Rain threatens, then clears away to blue sky. We walk to its entrance some 20 minutes earlier. As we walk, I notice the metal grills over walk, don't walk signs. The lights. They are so crammed with debris that it's impossible to tell which light is flashing, save for the red or white refractions shining around edges. Matthew runs towards a group of pigeons on the sidewalk. Mock stomps his feet as if to crush them. I yell, "Tell him not to hurt them." He laughs, tells me of course he's not going to hurt them. Crazy kid. It's just New York. The lawyer is making an introduction. I refocus on the present, like a carnival ride, like playing Frogger, like everything so quick that I can only react. Surrounding me is the lawyer, Matthew, Jendine, Pandora, Shannon, Emily, and Louis, Jody's agent, who also happens to know this lawyer and help Matthew set it up. Far below and walking slowly, Lynette wanders, observes destruction, pauses here and here to read pieces of paper, grief and sadness, overwhelming loss, relationships torn, families destroyed, printed words. Years later, she tells me that day it fueled her own sadness as she wanders the perimeter, waiting for me to remember her, waiting for me to include her in my obsession to move the band forward. Her own loss surrounds everything. Distance between us broadens. Step by step, I am far above, oblivious. I had pictured some old white guy in an overly expensive suit when Matthew tells me of this meeting. Instead, however, sitting at the head of the monolithic, polished black table around which my band sits in all punk rock tatters, is a youngish, late 30s or maybe early 40s, tall, handsome, African-American music lawyer. My imagination fails me, I think, but it's accurate on this: the expensive suit, well-tailored. Despite my experiences of shut doors, dismissive ridicule, and the lowest of expectations from clubs, booking agents, and most everyone else in the industry, I feel an almost electrified possibility. And I think maybe, I'm startled, maybe, I'm hopeful, maybe.